Hey to all you guys, what's going on YouTube's 3D Res, welcome back to a Pokemon Pocket, and the Ursiiday's Pocket Weekly number 15 is now concluded, as of yesterday, and there is some interesting stuff to behold. So I looked at Raven's video, and it was honestly surprising. The stuff we are now seeing coming right back up from the, literally, the depths, right? They're climbing right back up. So I'm talking about Executor Celebi. Look at this here. There's so much here going on. Executor Celebi, and I've come all the way over here to your Playing to Win rounds. Executor Celebi is literally second, and Executor Yanmega takes the cake. But Executor Yanmega isn't even here until the 12th position in the Swiss rounds. I think that people are starting to recline back into the old ways of the meta, and they're starting to realize that this stuff is still consistent. It is still very much potent against the newly found meta, because obviously Darkrai, Magnezone, that's all on the rise. But if you look at the Play in the Win rounds, Darkrai and Magnezone couldn't even scrape the top 4. Because we look at Magnezone Hitmonlee absolutely just coming out of nowhere. People probably thought that, oh, Hitmonlee's kind of gone right now, right? Because we have literally better stuff. We don't really need Hitmonlee anymore, because Hitmonlee doesn't go well into the bench line anymore. Well, Seru is actually proving you wrong, but we will get on to that in a moment's time. Now, there's just so much going on, especially when you look at the combined rounds for the week 15. Darkrai EX and Magnezone, of course, they're top trumping. But when you look at Charizard Moltres, it is still popping up literally week after week. So we all compare this to week 14, right? So Charizard Moltres is still here. It is still as consistent as ever. But funny enough, week 14 only had 135 appearances, and week 15 had a brand new resurgence of 42 more. 42 more Charizard Moltres reappeared. Obviously because of the Darkrai Magnezone theatrics. And of course, when we look at the Swiss rounds, Charizard Moltres topped it. However, if we go down to the Playing to Win rounds, Charizard Moltres, which is funny enough, the Japanese player here, only got 2-1. Charizard Moltres is obviously still relevant. I don't know what the matchups were against the Celebes, don't know if it came up against any, but of course it was going to roast them no matter what. We know that tale is all the time. But it's just interesting to see what originally was. So when we look at over here, on our week 14, we look at the combined, you'll see that Palkia Vaporeon was the thing. But on week 14, there was Dialga Melmetal. And I was actually looking at this before I started the video here. And when you look at week 15 combined, Dialga Melmetal doesn't even appear once. It does not even appear once. Look, I'm just going to keep scrolling down, okay? You're going to keep hearing my mouse wheel aggressively scroll down here. There's not a single Dialga Melmetal. It's bonkers. Palkia Vaporeon reappears every now and then. We've got ourselves the Magnezone Hitmonlee back down here. Right back down here as well. Right back down here as well. But there's not a single Dialga Melmetal compared to week 14's, which completely had 52 appearances. And this week it was a big fat bagel. I don't know what that says, but if you look at the ladder kind of things, if you guys have been playing the ladder over the last 2 weeks, you'll know what I'm talking about. Dialga just doesn't really quite hit the mark outside of Melmetal decks, excuse me. I mean, I'm sure it would work well with Magnezone, but maybe that's another meta entirely. But outside of Melmetal decks, Dialga is kind of not there. I mean, obviously you have your Yanmega Dialga, But that clearly is not as good as the Executor Yanmega that we see here, that completely destroyed the Play to Win rounds on the week 15. It's kind of surprising that these things are reappearing, I would say. And of course, you're getting your meta picks. Obviously, Palkia and Vaporeon is still hanging around here. Your Darkrai Magnezones are popping up like no man's land. Even Gyarados and Greninja, okay? Gyarados and Greninja are reappearing. Maybe because the resurgence, well, not really resurgence, but the reappearance and the upcoming, literally, wave of Charizard and Moltres, Gyarados and Greninja is going to be making itself a reappearance now for notable reasons. It's just interesting to seeing people, as I said before, reclining back into what they know rather than what is brand new, right? Because they know what's going to get them wins. They know what's going to counter the meta. And that is why when we look at the top 4 of the Play to Win rounds here for the week 15 just gone, we have this very interesting Magnezone Hitmonlee deck. I was looking at this before the stream started, and there was just weirdness. It doesn't feature Lucario, obviously Lucario being one of the top fighting cards at the moment, but it does feature Magnezone. I don't know if people are trying to put Magnezone into every deck possible. I mean, it's likely, right, that that's what people are trying to do. But it kind of goes to show that Magnezone does go into any deck possible. And Hitmonlee, as I said, many people thought had phased out. Obviously because when you have stuff on the bench line now, it's not very weak compared to what it used to be. And of course, you're not going to be really seeing a heck of a lot of Magikarps going around, which was like last week, for instance, so people were kind of caught off guard by that this week. But the Hitmonlee to me is such an interesting pick, because when you look at the matches, they actually lose to Juzzard, which, as we know, played the Execute Yanmar, which we will get onto in a moment's time, because that deck is, quite frankly, very sparse in terms of Pokemon. But when you're looking at it here, you have your Hitmonchan back up. Now, Hitmonchan obviously works well with Lucario, bumping it up by 20, you're getting a 50 slam. But Hitmonchan by itself, it's such an interesting card to have just here, right? There's only one copy of it as well. But obviously it pairs well with the likes of Marshadow, because when you have Marshadow obviously getting bumped up, because Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee respectively are 80 HP, so Marshadow can easily get online by like turn 3, turn 4, whatever it is. And that is where Marshadow is going to be eating well into the overall, I would say. Because on week 15, you're going to be eating well into the Magnezones. It's just interesting, this deck. It's just very interesting. And of course, it only runs one Pokemon communication. I mean, sure, right? You don't really need 2 here. You could do with 2, especially if you're not finding your Magnezones in time. But that's where the only one Hitmonchan comes into play, and the 2 Marshadows and the 2 Hitmonlee really do pick up. It's just such an interesting concept to have this inside of a fighting deck. It really is. But moving on to the top 3 now. We have our Palkia, Vaporeon, and this is obviously more consistent than what the Dialga deck is. Like I said before, Dialga only really works well with either Yanmega or Melmetal. If you don't have either one of those two, Dialga is just no good, right? I mean, I've seen people pairing Dialga with normal stuff, so I've seen it with Licky Licky. I've actually heard quite a few people doing that as well. I, myself, quite frankly, just don't see it. I don't see why you'd ever want to pair Licky Licky with Dialga. I mean, okay, if you get the absolute god hand, right, you can get yourself Licky Licky by like turn 5, turn 6. Let's just theoretically say that, okay? But is that really going to happen? And that is why you don't see Dialgas. because there's really not a lot of stuff that goes well with Dialga. There's a lot of hit or miss normal cards. As I say, it only really works well with Melmetal or Yanmega. But the Palkia Vaporeon is a tried and true combo. As we know, obviously Misty and the Manaphy. With the Manaphy now, if you guys don't know what Manaphy does, by now you should do. Basically choosing 2 of your bench Pokemon for each of those Pokemon, take a water energy if your energy zone attaches to that Pokemon. If you can get Manaphys to constantly feed for you, this is where things can get out of control. I've had it where I have seemingly been on the clutch of winning, but they have had enough energy on their Palkias, enough energy on their Vaporeons to distribute across the whole entire board. I killed one thing. Oh, look, they come with that Palkia over there that's got 1 energy. But hey, that Vaporeon right up there has got 3 energy attached to it. That's where this deck really stays consistent when compared to Dialga, which, quite frankly, does not. And that is why we're going to be seeing, I think, more this week after week. Obviously, it's going to go down a little bit now that people are starting to, as I say, recline back into the Executor, Celebi, Executor, Yanmega, whatever. But yeah, it's just very interesting to see this. And it's going to stay there. It's definitely going to stay there. But with this, however, Executor Celebi now. Look at this. There's only 5 Pokemon here. And there's only 1 Celebi here. But it's these Executors that are just reappearing from out of nowhere. Obviously, they take on Darkrai, literally to the T. If you can land an 80 bomb, it's now going to be a 100 bomb. That's going to send a Darkrai retreating back, essentially. Losing all of their energy attached to it. Unless they didn't have a leaf or whatever. But it's just all of these trainers here that... It just works so well. You got your double Rocky helmet. You got your 1 giant cape. Literally, you put a Rocky helmet on an Executor. That's great damage. If you put a cape on an Executor, that thing is surviving. Rocky helmet on a Celebi, for instance, is surviving. And it's doing more damage than what it probably should have ever done. I would, quite frankly, love to see this person in action. Like, oh, and I just realized as well. I literally just realized that the 3 people in the top 4, so 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, are all Japanese. You gotta pick up, okay, Europeans, Americans, pick up, please. And an American didn't even win. It was a Brazilian player that won. Come on, pick it up, please. But put it out to the side. It's just very interesting how consistent this deck was. And as I say, I would love to have seen this person play. Love to have seen. I might even have to go back and look at the VOD. Even though I hate Celebi, I would just love to see this deck in action. Because if you could literally get the God Hand, right? You could get yourself eggs, then you can get yourself Executor. And obviously you're going to be flipping constantly. Let's see what they won against. Well, what they didn't win against, obviously, was our Brazilian friend. But what they did win against... Oh, let's see what they lost against, actually. So they lost against Charizard. Okay, well, that's to be expected, right? That's to be expected. They tied against the Executor Celebi. And they won against a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, look at this. Dialga Licky Licky. Literally what we was talking about. But yes. They took out themselves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Darkrai's on their way to the top. And they took out a Bastion Skarmory here as well. It's a wide range of stuff that it took out. An absolute wide range of stuff. But as I say, this deck must be incredibly consistent. Just incredibly consistent. But, is it better than this deck over here? That's the question, right? So when you look at this, obviously Yanmega requires Yanmar to evolve. Who would have thought it? Shocker, right? But when you compare it to the Executor Celebi, there's only 1 Celebi here. And there's double Yanmega. Now, I'm not saying that these people were... you know, these people were in talks with each other. I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying is, I wonder what happened if there was only 1 line of Yanmega here. I mean, would they have won? Well, we will never know now. But the Yanmega Executor combo, this is something that, as I say, will be very, very good going forward. So you have your Executor on the active. It literally acts as a tank. You get this thing out there turn 2, preferably turn 3, turn 4, whatever it is, right? This thing is a tank. You are then building up your Yanmas on the bench. I have ran Yanmega with Lilligant, Yanmega with Superior. Obviously trying to get them energy. The Lilligant probably was a little bit better than the Superior. But I would never have ever thought of this. Never. But you can literally imagine. As I say, you get the God Opener. You get yourself the eggs all in hand. And you get your Yanmas right after that. If you don't get Yanmas, you can just pop them with a Pokeball. And you got yourself Rocky Helmet here. There's no cape, may I add. You got yourself the Rocky Helmets. You apply these yet against the Executors. You're going to be doing a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. So they lost one match. Well, what did they lose to? I'm going to go out on the whim here and say they lost to Moltres. I'm going to try and guess the future, okay? Did they lose to Moltres? No, they lost to a Darkrai Magnezone. Funny that, because, well, this quite frankly should have countered it. But yeah, it's interesting, right? To be seeing stuff like this. They tied against they tied against another Executor Yanmega, funny enough. Oh, okay. But what they did win against was a less amount of Darkrai's compared to our friend over here, the Executor Celebi deck. The Palkia Vaporeon completely murdered that poor person. The Magnezone Hitmonlee, as we know, was in the top 4. That one got taken out. The Weavile, which, by the way, I don't even think Weavile appeared that much in this tournament. We can actually go look back at the metagame. Was Weavile even here? Oh, Weavile was here with 47 appearances. But yeah, it looks like the Darkrai Magnezone combo is better than the Weavile combo. Obviously, people know how to work around that now. But this is a very healthy meta. And this is what I don't think people truly understand. Obviously, we are all fed up at this point. It's only been less than 2 weeks, for goodness sakes, but we are fed up of the Darkrai, Magnezone, Weavile, Darkrai in general, Darkrai. We are fed up with it, okay? But this is a very healthy meta. You have stuff that counters other stuff. There's nothing crazy here. There's nothing unbeatable. And that's what I really do like about this. Because obviously, in previous months where we had nothing but Mewtwo, nothing but Gyarados, Celebi, Charizard, literally week after week. Pikachu. Pikachu is virtually non-existent here, may I add. Look, literally I don't have to go so far down. Pikachu is non-existent now. Absolutely non-existent. Even though it still ramps up better, it has good consistency, it just doesn't eat well into anything here. Nothing. That is how easily a meta definer can go straight out the window when you have much better stuff in place. But the thing that still exists is this Charizard Moltres. That is never gonna go. For as long as you have your Celebes and your Executors on the rise, for as long as you have your Magnezones here, they're gonna get melted. And of course, for as long as you have your Charizard Moltres, you're going to get your Gyarados Greninja back on the rise as well. I think these are two decks that are going to be staying for a while. For an absolute while. And let me just look at this down here. Is this Pachirisu T18? Please tell me it is. It is. it only features, right, Pachirisu. Pachirisu T18. But yes, this is the crazy part of the meta right now. We've got ourselves a Glade Lucario here. I'm just shocked, okay? Absolutely shocked to be seeing such a wide range of stuff. Because obviously in previous weeks, previous months even, it was nothing, as I said. it was nothing but your Mewtwo's, your Charizards, your Celebes, your whatevers. But now we're getting variety, people. And this is honestly what I really wanted to see out of this expansion. And it's hit down the nail on the head. And this is fantastic. There's a reason why I didn't do one of these last week, because I kind of wanted to do it this week. Just to see how it developed. And my god, it has developed so good. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for this video. I really do appreciate it. I really please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Have you even tried getting into the tournament scene yourself? Have you tried any of these meta decks, these tournament decks? Let me know, because I would love to find out if these have been working for you as well. I would really love to be. I don't know, guys. Take care, stay safe, all the good stuff. Love your day, whatever you're doing. If I know next video, next live stream, go and play some Pokemon Pocket. It's a great time to be playing spice, variety, creativity, whatever it is. It is a fantastic time. I don't know, guys. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye.